How we doing, everybody? This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR and racing podcast. Still just doesn't seem real after the passing of Kyle Busch. The weather felt the same way as all the action from Charlotte this weekend. Trucks, O'Reilly Series, and Cup would all be affected. Kyle, as we know, was truly a racer through and through. I believe he would have wanted us to continue what we all love to do, and that's race. So, let's get right into it. What many call the greatest day in motorsports on Sunday with the Indianapolis 500, then the Coca-Cola 600 as the nightcap for the Cup Series in Charlotte. The action would start at Charlotte Motor Speedway with the Truck Series. A series where Kyle Busch won at Dover the week before, and a race where Kyle Busch would have been the favorite. Corey Day would fill his seat as Cup drivers of Ross Chastain, Zilisch, and Carson Hocevar battle full-time truckers of Layne Riggs, Kaden Honeycutt, Gio Ruggiero, Majeski, and many others. O'Reilly Series would be next, doing triple duty in Charlotte. Zilisch, Ross Chastain would be giving it their all against the O'Reilly Series top talent of Jesse Love, Austin Hill, Sheldon Creed, and Justin Allgaier. So much on-track action from this past weekend. Have 2 episodes this week. Yellow flag, green flag, discussions with Dave, NASCAR history time, paint scheme of the week, interview with NASCAR Truck Series driver Jake Garcia. All of this on episode 1. Episode 2, we'll have all the recap and discussion on the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. Plus interview with Cup Series driver Daniel Suarez. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. We mentioned the weather. Trucks would get rained out on Friday night. Then again Saturday morning. That race will get pushed to Sunday morning. Now for the O'Reilly Series recap from Saturday night. As mentioned, O'Reilly would be the first to go out Saturday afternoon. Practice and qualifying would all be rained out. Starting position is based on last week. Corey Day and Justin Allgaier bring the field to green. Allgaier and Sam Mayer battle for the lead early. Yellow flag on lap 2 as Harrison Burton goes spinning. Allgaier and Mayer restart. Mayer clears and leads momentarily. Then laps later, Allgaier gets past Sam. Justin Allgaier would lead into the competition caution, taking the field into the first round of pit stops. The rain would hit the track and the cars would come to pit road. After over a 4-hour rain delay, the cars would come back out on track. Allgaier and Zilisch restart the field to green. Allgaier leads, but 4 laps later he gets loose, and Zilisch clears and leads. Rest of the stage stays green, and Zilisch wins stage 1. Blaine Perkins and Justin Allgaier restart for the second stage, but they don't even make it a lap as Brandon Jones and Brent Cruz make contact, collecting several others. Allgaier and Austin Hill restart. Next lap, Ross Chastain dives below Hill for the lead. After a yellow for a Sam Mayer wreck, Chastain and Hill restart on lap 67. Jesse Love gets a surge and they go 3 wide. Ross and Jesse battle for several laps. Lap 72, Ross would clear for the lead. Lap later, yellow flies as Dawson Cram has an engine go out. The restart gets called off with heavy fog. They run caution laps until the race gets to the end of stage 2 to make the race official. Ross Chastain is your winner in Charlotte for the O'Reilly Series. Now, trivia question time. This episode's question is, and we mentioned it last episode, but where did Kyle Busch get his first Cup Series win? Answer at the end. Now for the Truck Series recap. Truck Series would get rained out on Friday and Saturday as well. They would race Sunday morning. Practice and qualifying all canceled due to the rain. Corey Day will be driving the number 7 truck, which Kyle Busch was supposed to be in. Day and Layne Riggs take the field to green. After 2 yellows, Justin Haley and Dawson Sutton restart with 2 laps to go in the first stage. The leaders get shuffled and Christian Eckes is able to get to the front spot and wins stage 1. Eckes and Brandon Jones restart for the middle stage, but yellow flies early as Luke Baldwin's truck goes up in flames. He's luckily okay. Another yellow on lap 47 after Corey Day spins. Layne Riggs and Brandon Jones restart with 7 laps to go in stage 2. Riggs leads with Eckes close in second. Layne is able to stay up front and wins stage 2. Grant Enfinger and Connor Zilisch restart. Gio Ruggiero is able to clear from the second row. Another yellow laps later after Spencer Boyd has a tire go down. Ruggiero and Zilisch restart. NASCAR announces the race will be in the adverse conditions rule, meaning if the trucks are still racing by noon, they will wave the white flag and make it final. Ruggiero leads, but another yellow this time as Leland Honeyman spins with 57 laps to go, and the clock counting down. Riggs and Ross Chastain restart. Riggs to the lead with Ross behind him, but they just couldn't stay green. Butterbean Queen and Chris Wright tangle, bringing out yet another yellow. Layne Riggs and Christian Eckes restart. NASCAR has given the race a 14-minute time limit, even though there was 41 laps to go. Eckes clears the leads. Then they're door to door. Eventually, Riggs retakes over the top spot with less than 11 minutes to go on the on-track race clock. Yet another yellow as Andres Perez de Lara goes spinning. Riggs and Eckes restart with less than 5 minutes to go left on the race clock. Riggs clears and leads. Honeycutt to second. Chandler Smith wrecks, bringing out yet another yellow. Would they restart or call the race? 11 cautions is the most ever in a truck race at Charlotte. Race goes past noon. NASCAR calls the race. Layne Riggs is the winner. Kaden Honeycutt in second. Connor Zilisch in third. Quick look back at the predictions we made for the Truck Series and O'Reilly Series races from Charlotte. Trucks went with Kaden Honeycutt. He finishes second in a rain-shortened race. O'Reilly, same thing, shortened by the rain. Technically fog. Went with Corey Day. He finishes fifth. Yellow flag, green flag. Double yellow flag to NASCAR for how they handled both races. Okay, I get the cards you're dealt with in regards to the Xfinity Series race and the fog. That is a tough situation. But again, you're in everyone's backyard of Charlotte. And for the Truck Series, I get you have the quick turnaround of pit road with the 600 to start later that evening. But what would have been another 20-30 minutes of on-track time? Let the trucks run all the laps. We were having the same conversation when they put the race clock in effect at the second race of the year in Atlanta. Let the trucks race, please. Green flag, Truck Series. I was just saying, wish there had been all the laps ran. Green flag to Kaden Honeycutt. He's really heating up. Green flag, O'Reilly. Very strange ending to that race with the fog rolling in. But green flag to Junior Motorsports. Ross gets the win. Dang, those JRM cars have been really good this year. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Weather issues for the O'Reilly Series and Truck Series race. Yes, I am 110% a diehard NASCAR fan. I want to see every single lap ran, and I'm going to watch it 100%, regardless if it's a long weather delay, if I have to set alarms early in the morning or in the middle of the night to wake up for a race. I want to watch every single lap. And throughout a long NASCAR season and in a sport that you need to race outside and it needs to be dry for the most part. Throughout a long 38 race weekend schedule, you're going to get run-ins with rain, unfortunately. The one benefit that most of these teams have while racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway is that it's right in the neck of the woods, in the backyard. Charlotte is really the heart of NASCAR. They kept the trucks there all weekend. Why couldn't you keep the O'Reilly Series for another night? Maybe run them on Friday morning. I totally get my obsessive view for racing isn't for everyone. Felt like if more laps were ran in both of those races, the outcomes could have been different. Moving right along on discussions with Dave, Truck Series, mid-season, silly season. A lot of news to unpack for the upcoming Truck Series race in Nashville. We start off, Parker Retzlaff is going to drive the Sports Illustrated Resorts sponsored Toyota in the 62 car for Halmar Friesen Racing, in conjunction with Legacy Motor Club. We've had Parker on several times, and the runs that he's having, top 5, top 10s this year with Viking Motorsports, is definitely catching the eye of many. Have heard rumblings that he could be in negotiations with a Cup Series seat for next year. We saw the impact on the finish of the race that Parker had on his first Cup Series race 2 years ago in the summer Daytona race when Harrison Burton won. Wasn't a surprise of him hopping in the 62, but was a surprise that it was in conjunction with Legacy Motor Club. A driver that we saw make his Truck Series debut recently in Bristol is Carson Ferguson. He returns to Kaulig Racing for Nashville. We know what Carson can do in a dirt late model. Can he turn some heads in his second Truck Series start? Stephen Parsons will be running the Nice Motorsports truck at Nashville. We've seen Stephen hop from several teams throughout the last number of seasons. Great to see him getting a ride like from Nice. Next two guys I believe are going to be contending for the win in Nashville. Jesse Love and Raja Karuth will be driving the 77 and 7 trucks for Spire Motorsports in Nashville. And last but not least, we're going to expand on this next announcement on the next topic on Discussions with Dave, but Daniel Dye joins McAnally Higgleman Racing for 4 races. That brings us right into the next topic. Daniel Dye, after being suspended for his comments about IndyCar driver David Malukas, after he was reinstated back into NASCAR, he decides to part ways from Kaulig Racing, as we've been mentioning throughout this season and how these events unraveled. Since Daniel Dye has left Kaulig Racing, he has made his Cup Series debut at Talladega, been second in an ARCA race, and oh yeah, now he's going back into the Truck Series in, by all means, what is a better truck. By no means was Daniel's comments about Malukas said on purpose. He even, said on numerous occasions that he's young and he messed up. But he took this opportunity to leave Kaulig Racing, and Daniel is making the most of it. Did want to mention that. That wraps up Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Now for Paint Scheme of the Week, Part 2. Kyle Busch's legendary M&M's number 18 car that he drove for a long time with Joe Gibbs Racing, sponsored by M&M's and M&M Mars. Now for NASCAR history time. Memorable Cup wins through the years for Kyle Busch. Food City 500, Bristol Motor Speedway, March 25th, 2007. In what would stand as his final victory with Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Busch delivered a performance worth remembering underneath the lights at Bristol. With just 20 laps to go, Busch tracked down and made a decisive move past Denny Hamlin, showcasing both patience and precision on one of NASCAR's toughest short tracks. From that moment on, Busch never looked back, holding off the field in the closing laps and capturing a hard-fought and emotional win. Cobalt Tools 500, Atlanta Motor Speedway, March 9th, 2008. The 2008 season was already off to a blazing start for Kyle Busch in his first year with Joe Gibbs Racing. After back-to-back fourth-place finishes at Daytona, then at Auto Club, along with capturing the pole at Las Vegas, momentum was clearly behind the 18 of Busch. That momentum turned into a breakthrough win in just 4 races into the season. At Atlanta, Busch put together a dominant and confident drive, positioning himself at the front when it mattered most and sealing the deal with a trip to victory lane. It was a statement win early in his tenure with Joe Gibbs Racing, signaling that a new chapter was not just beginning, but arriving in full force. Centurion Boats at the Glen, Watkins Glen International, August 10th, 2008. The number 18 of Kyle Busch was nothing short of a blur on the 2.45-mile road course in upstate New York, putting on a clinic of speed and control. Busch dominated the day, leading an impressive 52 laps and separating himself from the field with every turn around the S's, the bus stop. By the time the checkered flag would wave, it was another dominant win on the victory lane for Kyle Busch. The win marked his 8th that year. At that point, the most successful season to date for Busch, and showcased just how versatile and dangerous a talent he has become, not only on ovals, but also on road courses. Now, for our interview with Truck Series driver Jake Garcia. Here's what Jake had to say. Next guest we bring back on to Splash of Gas is driver of the 98 Ford for Thor Sport Racing on the NASCAR Truck Series, is Jake Garcia. Thanks for joining the show, Jake.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Before we get into the current season action, last year, 2 top 3s, 9 top 10s onto a playoff appearance. I know your playoff run didn't go as long as you would have liked, but what was it like being in the playoffs, and how would you sum up your 2025 season for you and your team there?
I thought there was a lot we improved on in 2025, and I think we grew a lot as a team, and definitely learned a lot about what makes our trucks go fast. And so I thought there was a lot of growth in 2025. Like you said, we made the playoffs, and then once we got in, we had a little bit of a string of bad luck in the first round, and wasn't able to continue. But I thought we had a strong season last year, and I think we're continuing to build off of that this year. It's just going to be a matter of continuing to improve and not making mistakes.
Gotcha. Continue to execute. Really appreciate the insight from last year. As mentioned, last spoke to you before you got in the truck for Daytona. That one didn't end your way, but you rebound with the pole next week in Atlanta, and you come home with a P7 finish in that one. Don't need to give up any secrets, but how were you able to execute on the pole the weekend after Daytona in Atlanta?
Yeah, just a fast truck. Atlanta qualifying is pretty easy for us in the trucks. We're just wide open and following that white line at the bottom of the racetrack. So, I guess my truck was a little bit faster than everybody else's. I mean, there's still some small things you have to execute on, like some really fine details when it comes to getting up to speed and, how you come down the racetrack coming to green. But, overall, I feel like I just had a fast truck, and, we were able to learn a little bit based off my feedback from the first run. And then when we went to the second round of qualifying, we went from I think we were 9th in the first round, and we were on the pole in the second round. So, that was pretty good for us. And, just looking forward to qualifying every week.
Gotcha. Glad to hear that insight with the feedback to the crews when you guys do a full qualifying session just like you had there in Atlanta. Well, Appreciate you touching upon that. Back-to-back top tens in Rockingham, then Bristol. A tough break in Texas, bringing the series to Watkins Glen. The 15th there last year, 11th there a few weeks ago. Since you started in the truck series, where do you think you have made improvements on your road course racing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like it's just seat time and being able to learn how to make speed in the trucks and just really limit mistakes. I felt like the first couple races, even though I was kind of slow, I also didn't feel super in control, and just not very comfortable with downshifting and all that stuff. And now I feel very comfortable at road courses, racing people side by side. And, I think that's just a matter of having seat time and having experience doing it, because it's a completely different style of racing than what we do on the oval stuff. And obviously it takes a lot to learn. But, I felt like at Watkins Glen, that was a place where we were actually pretty fast last year and didn't really come away with the finish that we wanted. And this year, I felt like we finished better than where we should have, than how fast we were. So, I think it's a learning curve for me, just, at this point, giving better feedback to my guys on what I need to be better. But, I think driving wise, I'm fairly competitive as far as speed goes, but I just need to be able to help my crew, help me, and just get better that way.
Got it. Thanks for the stuff that you're looking for on the road courses. The Thor Sport guys can definitely bring a fast truck to ovals and road courses, but we really do appreciate those insights. One last question on the Glen. What did you think of the added tire packs in turn one in the chicane?
I wasn't really a huge fan of them. I know why they did it, because there's a wall that comes up if you're way out there. But it's just kind of just restricts what you can do and how creative you can be as a driver. But I thought there was going to be a bigger issue in turn one with someone like hitting one head on. And I didn't really see a huge wreck because of them. So. I thought that was successful, but I definitely preferred the style that they had in coming out of the chicane or coming out of the carousel a little better. But it's just kind of NASCAR's discretion, and they thought that would limit some wrecks that they've been having, and I think that's what it did. So I was a little skeptical going into it, but I think it probably did what they were intended to do, even though as a driver, I much rather would drive the racetrack without them being there.
Gotcha. I appreciate the honesty. As a fan, kind of felt the same way. And as several of the Xfinity guys, and they kind of said the same thing that you were saying. Next one would be Dover. Was at the track Friday as well for that one. Always think it's crazy how banked and fast you guys are going. What's it like behind the wheel at Dover?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting sensation. The first couple laps on the racetrack, with just how far you fall into the corner there, is really like nothing else. Because a lot of racetracks, the transition's kind of smooth, but at Dover you drive into the corner and the truck literally falls down to the bottom of the racetrack, and it's an interesting feeling to get used to. But like you said, the speed is really high, just between how much grip there is in the track with the concrete and the resin that they hadn't applied, and then the banking as well. It's really fast for how small it is. And even in qualifying, you going into it about how much throttle you're going to carry, but you're looking at the racetrack and you're like, there's no way that a corner this tight is going to be able to handle that much throttle. But, you just have to trust it, and it does it. But, that was really cool to get to go to Dover for the first time. And I think it's definitely one of the most fun racetracks to make laps at that I've been to.
Yeah, you guys are really hauling the mail there, and yeah, it was the first time the Truck Series, I think, like in 5 or 6 years, has been to Dover. As a local New Jersey guy, it was good to see the trucks back there, and fun to watch as well. Stage points in the first stage, then after qualifying seventh. Once the day was over, you finished ninth. Long green flag run at the end. How were you able to manage the tires, and what more did you think you needed to get a few more spots or even in the top five?
Yeah, I think we just needed to be faster. We were honestly pretty terrible at Dover speed wise in the race, but I felt like we were pretty good on restarts, so I could make up some spots there, and then we would kind of just hang on for the rest of the run. And my pit crew also helped keep me in the game there as well. We gained some spots on pit road, and that was super helpful. And then, like I said, those couple of restarts, we gained spots on. That was super for our effort. But at the end of the race, we were running 12th and saving fuel, and got passed by a couple guys, and a couple guys ahead of us ran out of gas too. So I guess it kind of equaled out. But looking back, maybe I could have went a little harder without saving so much fuel and had an extra spot. But it's just such a risk versus reward situation. And with where we're at in the points right now, we definitely couldn't afford to run out of gas at Dover.
Yeah, gotcha. Especially just as you mentioned, with you, this was the first time you were at Dover. So yeah, I mean, the top 10. Think you'll take that. This week is unfortunately a lot going on. Charlotte races are always exciting for the drivers, but also the fans, with so many fan-oriented events in the local shops leading up to the Coke 600. Unfortunately, there's the untimely passing of Kyle Busch on the 21st. You've raced against Kyle, not also on the trucks, but also on the late model side of things. Most recently in the Snowball Derby. You're a younger guy. I mean, what impact did Kyle have on you as a driver?
Yeah, I mean, that was a super hard day for our sport, and it's still a hard week for our sport. But I always remember watching Kyle Busch growing up, in the M&M's car, and when I was a really little kid, he was my favorite driver, and honestly, it wasn't because I knew anything about him as a driver. It's because M&M's were my favorite candy. So he was someone that I watched growing up, and throughout my entire life, I've watched him drive race cars. And I remember, the first time I shared the racetrack with him, I think was at the Snowball Derby in 2020, I think. I remember going out for practice, on that Thursday before the Derby, and I pulled out on the racetrack, and a couple laps later, he pulled out in front of me, and I was able to follow him, and I was just thinking, obviously I'm trying to drive a race car, but at the same time, I was just thinking to myself how cool it was to be able to follow, a Cup Series champion around the racetrack, and someone that I grew up watching. And I always felt like that was a very special moment. But yeah, I mean, being able to race around him was awesome. Even up to last year's Derby, we were racing each other, and we actually got into each other. I got into him. I would say he wasn't clear, and he came down on me. He probably would say something else, but he came. We got together a little bit. And the next corner, he gave it right back to me, and not any more than what I did to him. And then we just continued racing like nothing happened. So, I have a ton of respect for him as a driver, and it was really super cool to be able to race around him and be on the track with him when I was. And even going back to Atlanta, and the trucks this year, there was multiple restarts where I was lined up on the bottom, and he was right behind me pushing me. And it was cool to get to work together with him that day. And even I felt like battling for the win with him and Carson at the end of the race was super cool. So I would say those are my biggest memories of Kyle Busch. And, I'm sure everyone in the sport has stories like that about him and what impact he had on everyone.
Yeah, really appreciate you sharing that. Even still a younger driver coming up in the sport. Really, really cool. You sharing those experiences. About Kyle. Staying kind of on the same topic on the late model side. You're just talking about running the late model snowball derby. Just like the weekend in Charlotte, a lot of waiting on the rain. Unfortunately, this past December, the final restarts got pretty wild. You come home in the snowball derby P3. I mean, how would you sum up your time in Pensacola last December?
Yeah, well, I would say overall it was a very boring weekend. At least here in Charlotte, when they canceled stuff for the day, I could come home and come back to my house and be home. But yeah, we did a lot of sitting around in the hotel lobby and eating and a bunch of nothing down there at the Snowball. Yeah, that was definitely a boring week. As far as the race goes, we started on our own row at the back of the field, dead last, and we were able to pass a lot of cars and got up to second before lap 100. And I thought our car was really fast with freight racing, and I felt like we were probably second best to the 91. Ty Majeski, I thought he was better than us, and we needed a little bit to be better than him. But I thought we were better than pretty much everyone else. And just towards the end of the race, we kind of got stuck behind a slower car on the outside on one of the restarts, and we lost a ton of track position. I think we probably lost 7 or 8 spots in that restart, and the whole rest of the race we were just catching up, trying to pass people. Even at the end of the race, we were. I felt like we were catching Nasty, and we were actually side by side passing the 26 for second at the end. So, although third at the Derby is a really good run and a really, a strong showing for any team, I definitely thought we were capable than more than that. Yeah, just kind of felt like we didn't achieve our full potential that day.
Gotcha. Huge fan of super late model racing, myself, and we really appreciate that insight. And also really glad to see where you're at on the late model side. And sounds like you still have a lot of on the plate to that you're hungry about. So thank you for going over that. Moving to the Charlotte action. Mentioned the rainy weekend, that unfortunately cancels practice and qualifying. Well, once the race got going Sunday morning, when you finished the first stage 9th. What was it like going Sunday morning, no practice and no qualifying? I mean, and do you think you would have finished a little bit higher if all the laps were in?
I definitely feel like we would have finished higher if all the laps were in, and even if the laps we did run were green. Yeah, I thought that it was just so hard. Pretty much the whole race we spent, 3 wide or 2 wide or side by side fighting for position, and just never really got out of the hornet's nest. And towards the end of the race, we were, I don't know, probably maybe 7th or something, passing the 52. And he came up out of 4, and I had to have a big lift, and then I got jacked up by someone behind me, and we lost maybe 5 or 6 spots right there. And that was still early in stage 3, but the rest of the race was pretty much under caution. We just never really could come back from that. But yeah, I felt like we were, not great, certainly not as fast as some of the other trucks, but, I definitely felt like we were maybe a seventh place truck, but just couldn't never get the track position and make it out of that hornet's nest, that battle for, 8th to 12th, and couldn't never get clean air and have a long green flag run to really show our speed.
Appreciate the honesty as a fan. I believe it was Atlanta. They had the clock for the end of the race. I mean, just don't like that. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way as a driver, but appreciate you going over that. And looking towards this upcoming weekend in Nashville and 3 previous starts, a 12th last year and back-to-back P10 finishes in 24 and 23. What do you expect the racing to be like Friday night? And do you expect the track to change from the practice and qualifying into the race that'll be underneath the lights?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I don't feel like Nashville changes a whole lot with it being concrete. Like Charlotte this past weekend is somewhere that that is super temperature sensitive and will be vastly different from daytime to nighttime. But I don't think Nashville changes a whole lot. But as far as the racing goes, it's definitely really hard for us to pass in the trucks with kind of how little horsepower we make and how much grip we have there. And so I think this weekend qualifying will be very important, as well as being good on pit road and, not making mistakes on restarts and being able to gain a couple of spots every restart will be very important. I think the guy that wins the race will have a very good pit crew and will do a good job on restarts and also have a good qualifying effort. And I think those are the three things that you absolutely have to execute at Nashville with how hard it's going to be to pass this weekend. So that's what we're going to be focused on. Obviously, you're going to have a fast truck, but all those other things will be very, very crucial to having a good finish.
Got it. Sounds like hopefully it'll be an all-around team effort to get a top finish up there. Appreciate the insight with the passing and the horsepower. Last question. As we know from last year to this year, the playoff system has changed, going back to the chase, and you made the playoffs last year, as we were saying. Currently, you're 8th in the Truck Series standings. How are you going to get the 98 into the playoffs and then have a long run there, running for a championship, hopefully?
Yeah, right now we're 8th, like you said, and we're definitely not safe. So the biggest thing to make the playoffs is just going to be to be consistent and not have any more bad days. So those days where you get wrecked or something and you finish 25th, like those are really bad. And sometimes, if your truck's not fast and you can finish 13th, then that's not a terrible day points wise. So obviously we're going to continue to compete for top 5s, top 10s, and hopefully compete for some wins this regular season. But at the same time, I think there's going to be some situations where we have to look at the bigger picture and just try to salvage a solid day and come out with just a good solid points day and move on to the next week. I feel like that needs to be our mindset for the rest of the regular season. And then once you're in the playoffs, it kind of depends on how the seeding goes and where you end up. But you're going to have to be very aggressive because you're going to have a very good, 7 weeks in a row to win the championship. I think you'll have to be aggressive. And if you're running, if you're running outside the top 10, well, that's not going to be good enough that week. And you're going to have to figure something out to make something happen and to where you can run in the top 10, top 5. I think that whoever does win the championship will be top 10 every week, at least, in the playoffs.
Got it. Appreciate seeing where your mindset is for the rest of the regular season and, of course, into the playoffs. And best of luck this weekend out in Nashville, Jake. And, hope to see you on the track sooner than later, all right? Thank you again for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, have a good one, man. Safe travels.
Thanks. Bye.
Great to chat with Jake again. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 2. Cletus McFarlane will be back on track. As we know, he'll be in the O'Reilly Series race from Nashville. Was announced this week, Cletus will be back in the Truck Series with Nice Motorsports when the Truck Series returns to Michigan. About a month ago at this point, we were witnessing Cletus leading a number of laps at the end of Talladega at the ARCA Series, finishing second, almost rattling off a win, but Andy Jankowiak edges him out. Even though Rockingham did not go the smoothest for Cletus, really excited for him to get more O'Reilly Series seat time. Of course, just like the last races for Cletus, finishing and running all the laps are really his main goal. If Cletus can keep that car clean, can he get into the top 20, top 15, maybe even better? Who knows? We saw the wheelman that he's butting into in Talladega. Can he keep blossoming from that? We'll find out. Can't wait to see Cletus back behind the wheel. Think he continues to be a great personality for the sport. Last topic on discussions with Dave, Card Gorilla named official trading card company of Viking Motorsports. Viking Motorsports, who fields 2 cars in the O'Reilly Series, Anthony Alfredo and Parker Retzlaff, have announced a new partnership with Card Gorilla. The brand is a destination for trading card collectors, offering NASCAR cards, racing cars, live breaks, PSA grading services, sealed boxes, card protection, rewards, and more. I dabble in trade card collecting. I'm not an expert by any means, but opening a pack of NASCAR cards and not knowing who you're going to get and going through, your race memories of the drivers you get is always fun. Know there's some big die-hard collectors out there. Thought it was a cool partnership to bring up. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is, and we mentioned it last episode, but where did Kyle Busch get his first Cup Series win? It was the Sony HD 500 at Auto Club Speedway, September 4th, 2005. In his first full-time season at NASCAR's Cup Series, Kyle Busch earned his first win after leading 95 laps. Throughout the race's entirety, he climbed up and down the leaderboard after starting 25th, but held on for the lead in the final 11 laps. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. And that brings us to the end of this one, folks. Hope everyone has enjoyed. Till next time, Splash of Gas out.